Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jared Rand, and welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call for Tuesday, June 6, 2023, 3:15 p.m. Eastern. We'll be having a time for change call tomorrow, Wednesday night at around 9 p.m. Eastern. We're in a process of discovery and unlearning as a civilization. Unlearning. Okay? And then the majority of us are not there yet, but eventually will be. There's been a kind of a belief system which is not true, which is another fallacy. Philosophers have always believed that essence precedes existence. That man is born with what he is going to be already determined, right? Just like a seed, he contains the whole program. Now the question is only of unfoldment. There is no freedom. That has been the attitude of all the philosophers of the past, that man has a certain fate, a destiny. One is going to become a certain entity that is fixed. The script already written. You are not aware of it. That's another matter. But whatsoever you are doing, you are not doing it. It is being done through you by natural unconscious forces or by God. This is the attitude of the determinist, the fatalist. The whole of humanity has suffered from it immensely because this kind of approach means there is no possibility of any radical change. Nothing can be done at all about man's transformation. Everything is going to happen the way it is going to happen. The East has suffered most because of this attitude. When nothing can be done, then one starts accepting everything. Slavery, poverty, ugliness. One has to accept it. This is not understanding, right? This is not understanding. It is not awareness. It is not what Gautama the Buddha calls suchness, tahata. It is just despair, hopelessness, hiding itself in beautiful words. But the consequence is going to be disastrous. You can see it in its most developed form in India, the poverty, the beggars, the illness, the crippled people, the blind people, and nobody takes any note of it because this is how life is. This is how life has always been. And this is how life is always going to be. You heard that before? We've all heard that more than once, right? We've even probably stated it to ourselves once or twice. A kind of lethargy seeps in to the very soul. But the whole approach is basically false. It is a consolation, not a discovery, that comes from looking into the reality. It is somehow to hide one's wounds. It is a rationalization. And whenever rationalizations start hiding your reality, you are bound to fall into darker and darker realms. And whenever rationalizations start hiding your reality, you are bound to fall into darker and darker realms. Essence does not precede existence. On the contrary, existence precedes essence. Man is the only being on this earth who has freedom. The dog is born a dog, will live like a dog, will die like a dog, there is no freedom. A rose will remain a rose. There is no possibility of any transformation. It cannot become a lotus. There is no question of choice. There is no freedom at all. This is where man is totally different. This is the dignity of man, his specialness in existence, his uniqueness. And that's why Charles Darwin is not right, because he starts categorizing man with other animals. This basic difference he has not even taken note of. Basic difference is that all animals are born with a program. Only man is born without a program. Man is born as a tabula rasa. Tabula rasa meaning a clean slate. Man is born as a clean slate. Nothing is written on it. You have to write everything that you want to write on it. It is going to be your creation. Man is not only free, man is freedom. That is his essential core. That's his very soul. The moment you deny freedom to man, you have denied him his most precious treasure, his very freedom. Then he is a beggar, and in a far more ugly situation than other animals, because at least they have a certain program. Then man is simply lost. Once this is understood, that man is born as freedom, then all the dimensions open up to grow. Then it is up to you what to become. It is up to you what not to become. It is going to be your own creation. Then life becomes an adventure. Not an unfoldment, but an adventure. An exploration, a discovery. The truth is not already given to you. You have to create it. In a way, each moment you are creating yourself. Even if you accept the theory of fate, that is also an act of deciding about your life. By accepting fatalism, you have chosen the life of a slave. It is your choice, no one else's, only yours. You have chosen to enter into a prison. You have chosen to be chained, but it is still your choice. You can come out of the prison. Of course, people are afraid to be free because freedom is risky. One never knows what one is doing, where one is going, what the ultimate result of it all is going to be. If you are not ready-made, then the whole responsibility is yours. You cannot throw the responsibility on somebody else's shoulders. Ultimately, you will be standing before existence totally responsible for yourself. Whatsoever you are, you cannot shirk it. You cannot escape from it. This is the fear. Out of this fear, people have chosen all kinds of determinist attitudes. And it is a strange thing. The religious and the irreligious are agreed only on one point, that there is no freedom. On every other point, they disagree. But on one point, their agreement is strange. The communists say they are atheists, irreligious, but they say that man is determined by the social, economic, political situations. Man is not free. Man's consciousness is determined by outside forces. It is the same logic. You can call the outside force the economic structure. Hegel calls it history with a capital H. Remember, and the religious people call it God. Again, the word is with a capital G. God, history, economics, politics, society, all outside forces, but they are all agreed upon one thing, that you are not free. But I'm here to say very firmly, you are absolutely free. Deeply, eternally loving free. Don't avoid the responsibility. Avoiding is not going to help. The sooner you accept it, the better. Because immediately you can start creating yourself. And the moment you create yourself, great joy arises. And when you have completed yourself the way you wanted to, there is immense contentment. Just as when a painter finishes his painting, the last touch, and a great contentment arises in his heart. A job well done brings great peace. A job well done brings great peace. One feels that one has participated with the whole. The only prayer is to be creative. Because it is only through creativity that you participate in the whole. There is no other way to participate. God has not to be thought about. God has not to be thought about. You have you have to participate in some way. You cannot be an observer. You can only be a participant. Only then will you taste the mystery of it. Creating a painting is nothing. Creating a poem is nothing. Creating music is nothing compared to creating yourself, creating your consciousness, creating your very being. But people have been afraid. And there are reasons to be afraid. The first is that it is risky, because only you are responsible. Secondly, the freedom can be misused, because you can choose the wrong thing to be. Freedom means you can choose the right or the wrong. If you are only free to choose the right, then it is not freedom. Then it will be like when Ford made his first cars. They were all black. And he would take his customers into the showroom and tell them, you can choose any color provided it's black. But what kind of freedom is this? Provided it is right, provided it follows, right? Oh, the Ten Commandments. Provided it is according to the Bhagavad Gita or the Quran, provided it is according to Buddha, Mahavira Sarvasutta, then it is not freedom at all. Freedom basically means, intrinsically means, that you are capable of both, either choosing the right or the wrong. And the danger is, hence the fear, that the wrong is always easier to do. The wrong is a downhill task, and the right is an uphill task. Going uphill is difficult, arduous, and the higher you go, the more arduous it becomes. But going downhill is very easy. You need not do anything. Gravitation does everything for you. You can just roll like a rock from the hilltop, and the rock will reach to the very bottom. Nothing has to be done. But if you want to rise in consciousness, if you wanted to rise in the world of beauty, truth, bliss, then you are longing for the highest peaks possible. And that certainly is difficult. Secondly, the higher you reach, the more there is a danger of falling, because the path becomes narrow, and you are surrounded on all sides by dark valleys. A single wrong step, and you will simply be gone into the abyss. You will disappear. It is more comfortable, convenient to walk on the plain ground, not to bother about the heights. Freedom gives you the opportunity either to fall below the animals or to rise above the angels. Freedom gives us all the opportunity either to fall below the animals or rise above the angels. Freedom is a ladder. One end of the ladder reaches hell. The other end touches heaven. It is the same ladder. The choice is yours. The directions have to be chosen by you. And to me, if you are not free, you cannot misuse your unfreedom. Unfreedom cannot be misused. The prisoner cannot misuse his situation. He is chained. He is not free to do anything. And that is the situation of all other animals except man. They're not free. They are born to be a certain kind of animal, and they will fulfill it. In fact, nature itself fulfills it. They are not required to do anything. There is no challenge in their life. It is only man who has to face the challenge, the great challenge. And very few people have chosen to risk, to go on the heights, to discover their ultimate peaks. Only a few, Buddha, Christ, both, which means enlightened one. Only very few. They can be counted on the fingers. Why hasn't the whole of humanity chosen to reach the same state of bliss as Buddha? The same state of love? Think about it. And very few people have chosen to risk, to go to the heights, to discover their ultimate peaks. Why hasn't the whole of humanity chosen to reach the same state of bliss as Buddha or Christ, the enlightened ones? The same state of celebration as Krishna. Why? For the simple reason that it is dangerous, even to aspire to those heights. It's better not to think about it. And the best way not to think about it is to accept that there is no freedom. You are already determined beforehand. There is a certain script handed over to you before your birth, and you have just to fulfill it. Only freedom can be misused. Slavery cannot be misused. That's why you see so much chaos in the world today. It has never been there before, for the simple reason that man was not so free. You see more chaos in America for the simple reason that they are enjoying the greatest freedom that has ever been enjoyed anywhere in the world at any time in history. Whenever there is freedom, chaos erupts. But that chaos is worth it, because only out of that chaos are stars born. I'm not giving you a discipline, because every discipline is a subtle kind of slavery. I'm not giving you any commandments, because any commandments given by anybody else coming from the outside are going to imprison you, to enslave you. Coming from the outside are going to imprison you, to enslave you. I'm only showing you how to be free and then leaving you to yourself to do what you want to do with your freedom. If you want to fall below the animals, that is your decision. And you are perfectly allowed to do it, because it is your life. If you decide it that way, then it is your prerogative. But if you understand freedom and its value, you will not start falling. You will not go below the animals. You will start rising above the angels. Man is not an entity. He is a bridge between two eternities, the animal and the God, the unconscious and the conscious. Grow in consciousness. Grow in freedom. Take each step out of your own choice. Create yourself and take the whole responsibility for it. See, we've been, as a civilization, we have been enslaved forever. Forever. Sure, the idea that we are free, we're free people. How many of us can actually say that in this very moment? With conviction, right? With utter confidence, trust, and confidence. Faith. Now you understand why things have been so suppressed with this civilization throughout the ages, right? Sex is the most powerful instinct in man, yet the most suppressed. The politician and the priest have understood from the very beginning that sex is the most driving energy in this civilization. And isn't it interesting that such a good job has been done suppressing it, that now we aren't making enough babies on this planet for the civilization to flourish and continue to exist. We aren't making enough babies for this civilization to progress. They've done a good job, haven't they? But it has to be curtailed, right? It has to be cut. If man is allowed total freedom in sex, then there will be no possibility to dominate him. To make a slave out of him will be impossible. I mean, you have to have seen it being done all around us. When you want a bull to be yoked to a cart, what do you do? Okay, what do you do? If you want a bull to be yoked to a cart. Well, what you do is you castrate him, you destroy his sexual energy, and have you seen the difference between a bull and an ox? What a difference. An ox is a poor phenomenon, a slave. A bull is a beauty. A bull is glorious phenomenon, a great splendor. See a bull walking, wow, how he walks like an emperor. And see an ox pulling a cart. The same has been done to man, to the civilization. The sex instinct has been curtailed, cut, crippled. Man does not exist as the bull now. He exists like the ox, and each man is pulling 1,001 carts. Look, and you will find behind you 1,001 carts, and you are yoked to them. Why can't you yoke a bull? The bull is too powerful. If he sees a cow passing by, he will throw both you and the cart, and he will move to the cow. He will not bother a bit about who you are, and he will not listen. It will be impossible to control the bull. Sex energy is life energy. It is uncomfortable. And the politician and the priest are not interested in you. They are interested in channeling your energy into other directions. So there is a certain mechanism behind it. It has to be misunderstood. It has to be understood. Sex repression, tabooing sex, is the very foundation of human slavery. Man cannot be free unless sex is free. Man cannot be really free unless his sexual energy is allowed natural growth. These are the 5 tricks through which man has been turned into a slave, into an ugly phenomenon, a cripple. The first is, keep man as weak as... Now understand what this means and why we are where we're at in this very moment. Keep man as weak as possible if you want to dominate him. If the priest wants to dominate you or the politician wants to dominate you, you have to be kept as weak as possible. And the best way to keep a man weak is not to give love total freedom. Love is nourishment. Now the psychologists have discovered that if a child is not given love, he shrivels up into himself and becomes weak. You can give him milk. You can give him medicine. You can give him everything else. But just don't give love. Don't hug him. Don't kiss him. Don't hold him close to the warmth of your body. The child will start becoming weaker and weaker and weaker. There are more chances of his dying than surviving. What happens? Why? Just hugging, kissing, giving warmth, and somehow the child feels nourished, accepted, loved, needed. The child starts feeling worthy. The child starts feeling a certain meaning in his life. Now, from the very childhood, we starve them. We don't give love as much as is needed. Then we try to force the young men and young women not to fall in love unless they get married. By the age of 14, they become sexually mature. But their education may take more time, 10 years more, until they are 24, 25 years old. Then they will be getting their MAs or PhDs or MDs or whatever. So we try to force them not to love. Sexual energy comes to its climax near the age of 18. Never again will a man be so potent. Never again will a woman be able to have a greater orgasm than she will be able to near the age of 18. But we force them not to make love. Girls and boys are kept separate. And just between them stands the whole mechanism of police, magistrates, vice chancellors, principals, headmasters, you name it. They are all standing there, just in between, just holding the boys back from moving to the girls, holding the girls back from moving to the boys. Why? Why is so much care taken? They are trying to kill the bull and create an ox. By the time you are 18, you are at the peak of your sexual energy, your love energy. By the time you get married at 25, 26, 27, and the age has been going up and up, the more cultured a country, the longer you wait, because more has to be learned. The job has to be found, this and that. By the time you get married, you are almost declining in your powers. Then you love, but the love never becomes really hot. It never comes to the point where people evaporate. It remains lukewarm. And when you have not been able to love totally, you cannot love your children because you don't know how. When you have not been able to know the peaks of it, how can you teach your children? How can you help your children to have the peaks of it? So down through the ages, man has been denied love so that he should remain weak. Second, keep man as ignorant and deluded as possible so that he can easily be deceived. And if you want to create a sort of idiocy, which is a must for the priest and the politician and their conspiracy, then the best thing is not to allow man to move into love freely. Without love, man's intelligence falls low. Have you not watched it? When you fall in love, suddenly all your capacities are at their peak, at their crescendo. Just a moment ago, you were looking dull. And then you meet your woman, and suddenly a great joy has erupted in your being. You are aflame. While people are in love, they perform at their maximum. When love disappears or when love is not there, they perform at their minimum. The most intelligent people are the most sexual people. This has to be understood because love energy is basically intelligence. If you cannot love, you are somehow closed, cold. You cannot flow. While in love, one flows. While in love, one feels so confident that one can touch the stars. That's why a woman becomes a great inspiration, and a man becomes a great inspiration. When a woman is loved, she becomes more beautiful immediately, instantly. Just a moment ago, she was just an ordinary woman, and now love has showered upon her, and she is bathed in a totally new energy. A new aura arises around her. She walks more gracefully. A dance has come to her step. Her eyes have tremendous beauty now. Her face glows. She is luminous. And the same happens to the man. When people are in love, they perform at the optimum. Don't allow love, they will remain at the minimum. When they remain at the minimum, they are stupid. They are ignorant. They don't bother to know. And when people are ignorant and stupid and deluded, they can be easily deceived. When people are sexually repressed, love-wise repressed, they start hankering for the other life. They think about heaven, paradise, but they don't think to create the paradise here, now. When you are in love, paradise is here, now. Then you don't bother. Then who goes to the priest? Then who bothers that there should be a paradise? You are already there. You are no longer interested. But when your love energy is repressed, you start thinking, here is nothing. Now is empty. Then there must be somewhere some goal. And you go to the priest and ask about heaven. He paints beautiful pictures of heaven. Sex has been repressed so that you can become interested in the other life. And when people are interested in the other life, naturally they are not interested in this life. This life is the only life. The other life is hidden in this life. It is not against it. It is not away from it. It is in it. Go into it. This is it. Go into it, and you will find the others too. God is hidden in the world. God is hidden here now. If you love, you will be able to feel it. The third secret, keep man as frightened as possible. And the sure way is not to allow him love, because love destroys fear. Love casteth out fear. And when you are in love, you are not afraid. When you are in love, you can fight against the whole world. When you are in love, you feel infinitely capable of anything. But when you are not in love, you are afraid of small things. When you are not in love, you become more interested in security, in safety. When you are in love, you are more interested in adventure and exploration. People have not been allowed to love because that is the only way to make them afraid. And when they are afraid and trembling, they are always on their knees, bowing to the priest, bowing to the politician. It is a great conspiracy against humanity. It is a great conspiracy against you. Your politician and your priest are your enemies. But they pretend that they are public servants. They say, we are here to serve you, to help you attain a better life. We are here to create a good life for you. And they are the destroyers of life itself. And fourth, keep man as miserable as possible, because a miserable man is confused. A miserable man has no self-worth. A miserable man is self-condemnatory. A miserable man feels he must have done something wrong. A miserable man has no grounding. You can push him from here and there. He can be turned into driftwood very easily. And a miserable man is always ready to be commanded, to be ordered, to be disciplined, because he knows. On my own, I am simply miserable. Maybe somebody else can discipline my life. He is already a victim. And the fifth, keep men as alienated from each other as possible, so that they cannot band together for some purpose of which the priest and the politician may not approve. Keep people separate from each other. Don't allow them too much intimacy. When people are separate, lonely, alienated from each other, they cannot band together. They can't unify. And there are 1,001 tasks and tricks to keep them apart. For example, if you're holding the hand of a man, you are a man and you are holding the hand of a man and walking down the road, singing. You will feel guilty because people will start looking at you. Are you gay, homosexual, or something? Two men are not allowed to be happy together. They are not allowed to hold hands. They are not allowed to hug each other. They are condemned as homosexuals. Fear arises. If your friend comes and takes your hand in his hand, you look around, is somebody looking or not? And you are just in a hurry to drop the hand. You shake hands in such a hurry. Have you seen this, haven't you? When I used to train people on the ethics of interviewing, I would see this. I would ask them to shake my hand. And I was blown away that how people don't know how to shake hands. And the fear, the energy fear I felt, them, touching another. You just touch each other's hand and shake, and you're finished. You don't hold hands. You don't hug each other. You are afraid. Do you remember your father hugging you ever? Do you? Do you remember your mother hugging you after you become sexually mature? Why not? Fear has been created. A young man and his mother hugging? Maybe some sex will arise between them, some idea, some fantasy. Fear has been created. Father and the son? No. The father and the daughter? No. The brother and the sister? No. The brother and the brother? No. People are kept in separate boxes with great walls around them. Everybody is classified. And there are 1,001 barriers. And yes, one day, after 25 years of all this training, you are allowed to make love to your wife. But now, the training has gone too deep into you. And suddenly, you don't know what to do, how to love. You have not learned the language. It is as if a person has not been allowed to speak for 25 years. Just listen for 25 years. He has not been allowed to speak a single word. Then suddenly you put him on a stage and tell him, give us a great lecture. What will happen? He'll fall down then and there. He may faint. He may die 25 years. He may die. 25 years of silence. And now suddenly he is expected to deliver a great lecture. Is it not possible? This is what is happening. 25 years of anti-love, of fear. And then suddenly you are legally allowed a license is issued, and now you can love this woman. This is your wife. You are her husband, and you are allowed to love. But where are those 25 years of wrong training going to go? They will be there. And yes, you will love. You will make a gesture. It is not going to be explosive. It is not going to be orgasmic. It will be very tiny. That's why you are frustrated after making love. 99% of people are frustrated after making love. More frustrated than they have ever been before. And they feel, what is this? There is nothing. It is not true. First, the priest and the politician have managed that you should not be able to love. And then they come and they preach that there is nothing significant in love. And certainly their preaching looks right. Their preaching looks exactly in tune with your experience. First, they create the experience of futility, of frustration. Then they're teaching. And both look logical together, of a piece. There's a great trick, the greatest that has ever been played upon man. These 5 things can be managed through a single thing, and that is the taboo against love. It is possible to accomplish all those objectives by somehow preventing people from loving each other. And then the taboo has been managed in such a scientific way. This taboo is a great work of art. Great skill, great cunningness have gone into it. It is really a masterpiece. This taboo has to be understood. First, it is indirect. It is hidden. It is not apparent because whenever a taboo is too obvious, it will not work. The taboo has to be very hidden, so you don't know how it works. The taboo has to be so hidden that you cannot even imagine that thing against it is possible. The taboo has to go into the unconscious, not into the conscious. How to make it so subtle and so direct, so indirect. The trick is, first go on teaching that love is great, so people never think that the priests and the politicians are against love. Go on teaching that love is great, that love is the right thing, and then don't allow any situation where love can happen. Don't allow the opportunity. Don't give any opportunity. And go on teaching that food is great, that eating is a great joy. Eat as well as you can, but don't supply anything to eat. Keep people hungry. And go on talking about love. So all the priests go on talking about love. Love is praised as highly as anything, just next to God, and denied every possibility of happening. Directly, they encourage it. Indirectly, they cut its roots. This is the masterpiece. No priests talk about how they have done the harm. It is as if you go on saying to a tree, be green, bloom, enjoy. And you go on cutting the roots so that the tree cannot be green. And when the tree is not green, you can jump upon the tree and say, listen. You don't listen. You don't follow us. we all go on saying, be green, bloom, enjoy, dance. And meanwhile, you go on cutting the roots. Love is denied so much and love is the rarest thing in the world. It should not be denied. If a man can love 5 persons, he should love 5. If a man can love 50, he should love 50. If a man can love 500, he should love 500. Love is so rare that the more you can spread it, the better. But there are great tricks. You are forced into a narrow, very narrow corner. You can love only your wife. You can love only your husband. You can love only this. You can love only that. The conditions are too much. It is as if there was a law that you can breathe only when you are with your wife. You can breathe only when you are with your husband. Thus, breathing will become impossible. Then you will die. You will not even be able to breathe while you are with your wife or with your husband. You have to breathe 24 hours a day. Be loving. Then there is another trick. They talk about higher love, and they destroy the lower. They say that the lower has to be denied. Bodily love is bad. Spiritual love is good. Have you ever seen any spirit without a body? Have you ever seen a house without a foundation? The lower is the foundation of the higher. The body is your abode. The spirit lives in the body. The spirit lives in the body with the body. You are an embodied spirit and an ensouled body. You are together. The lower and the higher are not ensouled. They are not separate. They are one, rungs of the same ladder. The lower has not to be denied. The lower has to be transformed into the higher. The lower is good. If you are stuck with the lower, the fault is with you, not with the lower. Nothing is wrong with the lower rung of the ladder. If you are stuck with it, you are stuck. It is something in you. Move. Sex is not wrong. You are wrong if you are stuck there. Move higher. The higher is not against the lower. The lower makes it possible for the higher to exist. And these tricks have created many other problems. Each time you are in love, somehow you feel guilty. A guilt has arisen. When there is guilt, you cannot move totally into love. The guilt prevents you. It keeps you holding on. Even while making love to your wife or your husband, there is guilt. You know this is sin. You know you are doing something wrong. Saints don't do it. You are a sinner. So you cannot move totally, even when you are allowed superficially to love your wife. The priest is hidden behind you in your guilt. He is pulling you from there, pulling you or strings. When guilt arises, you start feeling that you are wrong. You lose self-worth. you lose self-respect. And another problem arises. When there is guilt, you start pretending. Mothers and fathers don't allow their children to know that they make love, they pretend. They pretend that sex does not exist. Their pretension will be known by the children sooner or later. When the children come to know about the pretension, they lose all trust. They feel betrayed. They feel cheated. And fathers and mothers say that their children don't respect them. You are the cause of it. How can they respect you? You've been deceiving them in every way. You have been dishonest. You have been mean. You were telling them not to fall in love. Beware. And you were making love all the time. And the day will come, sooner or later, when they will realize that even their father, even their mother, was not true with them. How can they respect you? First, guilt creates pretension. Then pretension creates alienation from people. Even the child, your own child, will not feel in tune with you. There is a barrier, your pretension. One day you will come to know that you are just pretending. One day you will come to know that you are just pretending, and so are others. When everybody is pretending, how can you relate? When everybody is false, how can you relate? How can you be friendly when everywhere there is deception and deceit? You become very, very, very sore about reality. You become very bitter. You see it only as a devil's workshop. And everybody has a false face. Nobody is authentic. Everybody is carrying masks. Nobody shows his original face. You feel guilty. You feel that you are pretending, and you know that everybody else is pretending. Everybody is feeling guilty. And everybody has become just like an ugly wound. Now it is very easy to make these people slaves, to turn them into clerks, station masters, schoolmasters, deputy collectors, ministries, governors. It's very easy. You can see how it's been done. Very easy to make these people slaves, to turn them into clerks, station masters, schoolmasters, deputy collector, whatever, ministers, governors, presidents. Now it is very clear, very easy to distract them. You have distracted them from their roots. Sex is the root, hence the name Muladhara. In the language of Tantra and Yoga, Muladhara means the root energy. I've heard it was her wedding night, and the naughty Lady Jane was performing her marital duties for the first time. "My lord," she asked her bridegroom, "is this what the common people call lovemaking?" "Yes, it is, my lady," replied Lord Reginald, and proceeded as before. After a while, Lady Jane exclaimed indignantly, "It is too good for the common people." The common people have not really been allowed lovemaking. It is too good for them. But the problem is that when you poison the whole common world, you are also poisoned. If you poison the air that the common people breathe, the air that the king breathes will also be poisoned. It cannot be separate. It is all one. When the priest poisons the common people, finally he also is poisoned. When the politician poisons the common people's air, finally he also breathes the same air. There is no other air. A curate and a bishop were in opposite corners of a railway carriage on a long journey. As the bishop entered, the curate put away his copy of Playboy and started reading the Church Times. The bishop ignored him and went on doing the Times crossword. Silence prevailed. After a while, the curate tried to make conversation. And when the bishop began to do a lot of head scratching and tut-tut-tutting, the curate tried again. Can I help you, sir? Perhaps. I am only beaten by one word. What is it that has 4 letters? The last 3 are UNT. And the clue is essentially feminine. Why, sir, said the curate after a slight pause, that would be aunt. Aunt. Of course, said the bishop. I say, young man, can you lend me an eraser? When you repress things on the surface, they all go deep inside into the unconscious. It is there. Sex has not been destroyed, fortunately. It has not been destroyed. It has only been poisoned. It cannot be destroyed. It is life energy. It has become polluted, and it can be purified. Your life problems can basically be reduced to your sex problem. You can go on to solving your other problems, but you will never be able to solve them because they are not true problems. And if you solve your sex problem, all problems will disappear because you have solved the basic one. But you are so afraid even to look into it. It is simple. If you can put aside your conditioning, it is very simple. It is as simple as this story. A frustrated spinster was a pest to the police. She kept ringing up saying there was a man under her bed. She was finally sent to a mental hospital where they gave her the latest drugs, and after some weeks, a doctor came to interview her and determine whether she had been cured. Miss Rustiphin, the doctor asked, do you see a man under the bed now? No, I don't, she said. But just as the doctor was ready to sign her release, she said, now I can see 2. The doctor told the hospital staff that there was only really one sort of injection that would cure her complaint, which he called malignant virginity. He suggested they set her up in her bedroom with Big Dan, the hospital carpenter. Big Dan was fetched, told what the woman's complaint was, and that he would be locked in with her for an hour. He said it would not take that long. And an anxious group gathered on the landing. They heard, no, stop it, Dan. Mother would never forgive me. Shut up, you're yelling. It's got to be done sometime. It should have been done years ago. Have your way. By force then, you brute. It's only what your husband would have done had you had one. The medics could not wait. They burst in. I have cured her, said the carpenter. He has cured me, said Miss Rustiphin. He had sawed the legs off of the bed. Sometimes the cure is very simple, and you go on doing 1,001 things. And the carpenter did well. just cutting the legs off the bed, and it was finished. Now where could the man hide? Sex is the root of almost all your problems. It has to be so because of thousands of years of poisoning. A great purification is needed. Reclaim your freedom. Reclaim your freedom to love. Reclaim your freedom to be, and then life is no longer a problem. It is a mystery. It is an ecstasy. It is a benediction. I'll join you in the meditation, and I'll return to close us out. Take an easy breath in through the nose, and an easy breath out from the mouth. Remain still. What area of your life do you most need to create something completely new? Often people get hung up on avoiding the material world because they assume it is not spiritual. Yet how will you feel when you follow through and complete that one task that you are avoiding doing? This is about being at peace with yourself and your life exactly as it is. Do that one thing today that you've been avoiding doing. And this will allow you to be a new person whose mind is calm, bright, and completely at ease. Don't wait. Do that one thing that will put your mind at ease right now. Take this with you for the rest of the day, into the evening and night, the following morning. We'll return here Wednesday, June 7, 2023, 3:15 p.m. Eastern, and 9 p.m. Eastern for the Time for Change call. Be gentle, kind, generous, and humble with yourself at all times. Be in the highest of the highest high, deepest, deepest, deepest eternal gratitude with yourself at all times, no matter what's going on around you.